Hello everyone, XRP time again. Looking at the one-day chart here, and we're parked at $2.16. Now look, I'm seeing everyone lose their mind saying this is the big 2025 crash. But let me tell you something. You only get wrecked if you're the one who presses sell on your XRP. Just do nothing. Literally nothing. Hold through this mess and you'll cross that finish line. The drama in the comments is wild right now. My portfolio's destroyed. I'm completely wiped out. Okay, so XRP hit zero then? No? Then what are we talking about here? You only took a loss if you sold during this dip, because markets do this thing where they recover. Shocking, I know. This same pattern keeps repeating throughout the entire cycle. People are posting stuff like, XRP is dead in 2025. See you next year when I buy back in. Hold up. You really think this coin is finished? We haven't even gotten to the ETF launches yet. The Clarity Act is still pending. ISO integration and what that does to price? Still waiting on that one too. What's actually happening is pretty simple. We're just copying whatever Bitcoin does. I'm curious what XRP would look like if it stopped being Bitcoin's shadow. When that decoupling finally kicks in, that's when things get interesting. We'll finally see XRP stand on its own 2 feet against Bitcoin. And honestly, we all know Bitcoin stopped being a real store of value a while back. Who's jumping into Bitcoin at these numbers anyway? What are they cooking up with it? Maybe a 2-buy. And when's that actually dropping? Here's the thing. Every time this market looks like it's about to take off, boom, something yanks it straight back to earth. And guess who's catching all the heat right now? BlackRock and Binance. I'm going to break that down for you in just a second. So earlier today, Bitcoin slipped under 100K, and my feed is blowing up with people calling for much steeper drops. They're predicting 80K before we get any kind of bounce back toward a new all-time high. Will that actually play out? Your guess is as good as mine. Everyone's throwing darts at a board right now. Even the technical analysis gurus who've been charting this whole cycle are completely stumped. This market's been throwing curveballs left and right, and honestly, your crystal ball is probably just as cloudy as everyone else's at this point. Here's what I can tell you for sure. There are some seriously big catalysts on the horizon for XRP. The Bitcoin will never drop below 100K again. Crowd is awfully quiet right now. Yeah, funny how that works. I caught myself saying the same exact thing about XRP when it was cruising above $3 with that rocket fuel momentum. I was convinced. There's no way this cryptocurrency's sliding back under $3, right? Yeah, well, think again, because we're literally knocking on $2 door right now. And you won't believe this. I'm scrolling through and seeing people straight up calling for $1.50 on XRP. Are we really headed that far down? Look, nobody's got a crystal ball here, but check out what's fascinating. Pretty much everyone's singing the same tune about what comes after. Once we finally bottom out, apparently we're going to witness this insane vertical blast-off to the moon. Time will tell if they've cracked the code on this one. Me personally, I think we're jumping the gun trying to predict what's around the corner. Nearly all the active sell pressure on Bitcoin spot markets has come from Binance over the last 2 days. All other markets are basically flat. Pretty odd to see. Which is precisely why Binance is catching all the heat from everyone right now. And wait, there's more. BlackRock's actively offloading both Bitcoin and ETH at this exact moment. So hold up, let me wrap my head around this. Everyone was practically begging for institutions to dive into this space. They were popping champagne bottles when BlackRock launched those Bitcoin ETFs. Now BlackRock's actually selling their Bitcoin holdings, and just like that, they've transformed into Bitcoin's arch nemesis. I mean, come on, what did people realistically think was going to play out here? All right, so let's get this straight. BlackRock isn't the one hitting the panic button here. It's their clients banging on the door screaming, "Get me out! Liquidate my ETF shares now!" But wait, there's more to this story. Look at what's happening around Trump's circle. I'm betting his kids are making an absolute fortune off these market swings right now. Can't believe Eric Trump dumped on us again. Okay, real talk. Why does anyone still follow Eric Trump's advice? The pattern is painfully obvious at this point. He drops a tweet saying buy the dip, and like clockwork, the entire market nosedives. This has happened 3 times already in crypto. 3 times. But sure enough, he'll tweet it again, and people rush in with their wallets open. You know what they're doing? They're hunting for exit liquidity. Please don't hand it to them on a silver platter. This is the exact same trap I keep warning you about. Those blood red days when everything looks terrible, that's when you freeze. Because while you're hitting that sell button in a panic, the big players are quietly vacuuming up everything you're dumping. Institutions are about to go on an XRP buying spree, and the price will explode when they do. So what happens to you? You bail out thinking you're smart, planning to catch the real bottom later. Next thing you know, the market rockets up, and you're scrambling to buy back in at double what you sold for. Look, I'm going to keep hammering this point home. If you want to buy a dip, grab some new cash. Stop playing this game where you dump your XRP hoping to catch it cheaper later. That fantasy rarely becomes reality. Has anyone gotten lucky doing it? Absolutely. There are traders who've grown their XRP stacks using those timing tricks. But we're in a different beast of a market now. This thing's moving like a caffeinated squirrel. Just in, Democrats just voted for the 14th time to keep the government closed. The optimists keep chirping that the shutdown ends this week. Yeah, I'm not buying it. My prediction? We're stuck in this mess straight through to Turkey Day. Obviously, I'd love to be wrong because an open government means crypto can breathe again. Think about what's actually stuck in limbo here. ETFs can't move forward. The Clarity Act is just sitting there collecting dust. Both need Congress back in session. Yet I keep scrolling past comments insisting legislation will magically pass during a shutdown. How does that work exactly? The whole crypto market is basically on pause until Washington gets its act together. Once that gridlock breaks, watch how fast things stabilize. That might be the spark that ignites the next rally after this bloodbath wraps up. Are all these accounts being paid to say the same thing? Here's the play I'm watching unfold. Big money players are silently gorging themselves on discounted crypto right now. And the second their bags are full, guess what happens next? This market's going to rip. And when it does, everyone who bailed out is going to be sitting there feeling pretty stupid. People claiming they got completely wiped out? Yeah, I'm calling that out as total garbage. Here's the reality check. You're only truly wiped if XRP crashes to literally zero. And you know what? That's not happening. Look, the second this thing bounces back, all this doom and gloom just vanishes. Nobody's going to remember any of this because they'll be too busy losing their minds over the gains. That euphoric rush is coming. The FOMO's going to flood in like crazy. Watching it unfold is going to be straight up insane, and you definitely want a front row seat for this. So don't let this shakeout mess with your head. BlackRock and White House at Ripple Swell 2025, Spark XRP ETFs, speculation and potential breakout. So yeah, tons of articles came out covering the BlackRock ETFs, but here's where it gets juicy. Every single piece took this sharp turn. Right at the tail end, they all switched gears and jumped into tokenization, pushing it as the next giant thing hitting crypto. People are buzzing about BlackRock potentially loading tokenized assets straight onto the XRP ledger. Then this headline pops up. Price could reach $100 to $500 as BlackRock CEO teases tokenization of currencies and ETFs. Every single one of those Bitcoin ETFs is getting the tokenization treatment. And funny enough, everyone credits BlackRock for this vision. Plot twist though, Gemini actually drew up these numbers first. So let's walk through what they're projecting. If we hit the bullish target, 6 trillion moves in, XRP lands at $100 a pop. Crank it up to ultra bullish, $30 trillion floods the system. XRP rockets to $500. Go full moonshot mode. $60 trillion gets deployed on the XRP ledger, launching XRP all the way to $1,000. Could this realistically happen? My take? We're looking at a wave of tokenization from multiple heavyweight institutions. Because Arcax alone is already planning to channel $30 to $50 trillion through the XRP ledger. Layer on top of that BlackRock making similar moves, Franklin Templeton migrating their assets to the XRP ledger, plus other big players following suit, and suddenly something clicks. That 10,000 XRP price tag stops sounding crazy and starts looking like an actual target. Which is why I always say, nothing's off the table with this crypto because we genuinely don't know the ceiling yet. But why did all those articles pivot to tokenization? Simple. It's what BlackRock revealed right here. Give this a listen.
Who owns traditional securities today, right? If you take away the distinction that they're tokenized, that market will come, but in the short term, we need to prove out the utility. And there's two sort of separate segments of users that I think are going to be the earliest adopters here, and we need that market momentum in order to prove the utility to actually get the larger players to eventually come in.
So they are really seeking regulatory clarity. If they have regulatory clarity, they understand the rules of the road, they understand that the rules are there with the investor protection as kind of the North Star, then they can work within those rules. And I think they're all expressing an enormous amount of interest in getting more engaged in the digital asset ecosystem. Obviously, they're doing a lot of work already to tokenize fixed income, tokenize bonds, create stable coins. I mean, you're seeing actually a lot of activity within the banks themselves to get engaged in the ecosystem. But I think to get them really engaged in the markets, there has to be regulatory clarity.
They're going to need Ripple's rails all around the world. That's when XRP's price is going to absolutely explode. Now look, I said this right at the top of the video. XRP at current levels, and yeah, we've dropped like 60 cents from last week when everyone was hype screaming, we are so back. But check this out. XRP can recover that 60 cents in what, 2 minutes? Maybe less? This crypto moves lightning fast, and here's my prediction. We're due for a comeback. You know what's funny? Everyone's out here saying the market's dead while secretly stuffing their wallets in private. A reversal's coming real soon. Now, could we dip lower first before we rocket? Sure, totally possible. Make sure you're mentally ready for whatever twist comes next. Look, my whole thing here is keeping you pumped up, making sure nobody quits. I'm racing toward that finish line, and I want every single one of you running right there with me. That's literally been the point from the jump. I cannot wait to get rich with all of you. That money that flips everything upside down, it's still locked in for us. XRP's chapter in 2025 hasn't even hit the good part yet. So while we're riding this out, keep your cool, keep believing, and yo, that's where I'm cutting this off. Big thanks for hanging out and watching this through. Super hyped to vibe with you again in the next upload.